And welcome back to the Dawn Show, back with Rachel Freed and Dena Heilik from the Free Library of Philadelphia. They have some phenomenal fall reads for kids and adults. It's all free, and here is what is new at your local Philadelphia library. It's your turn, Dena. You're on the hot seat.
I have like a stack of books on my lap. It's kind of crazy.
I know we make it difficult for you. You're like, give us the latest and the best. And so I know it's hard to choose the finalists.
It is hard, but thankfully we have a bunch of really good ones. The first one is Reality Boy by A.S. King. And this is a really interesting book because you know all the reality TV we have right now, especially like the Nanny 911 and stuff like that. This is a book about this kid who, when he was like 5, was on one of these Nanny 911 shows, and he was the worst kid in the world. Like awful. Like
he was just acting out. He didn't know any better.
He was acting out badly, and the entire country watched him on this. And he's the kid who poops, like in places he shouldn't be. And he's now a teenager. He's like 16, 17, and this has followed him around his entire life.
It's like, dude, you're the one that
I'm like,
pooped.
yeah. It's like, this is not something you want to grow up with, especially when you're a teenager and you're trying to, like, you know, meet a girl maybe, or even have a life outside of just that little box you've been put in. And so it's a book about him kind of finding himself and kind of overcoming this past and starting to connect with other people outside of that. And it was a somewhat hard book to read because you really felt for him, and his family is not that great either. But he finally finds a way to make a place for himself in the world that isn't just this awful the guy who pooped. So
it's a very visceral read. I think I read it in one sit down.
She did, and then she gave it to me. She goes, "You have to do that one." I'm like, "Okay."
But this is good for adults or teenagers.
Yeah.
I think especially for teenagers, and that's sort of awkward because we all feel like everybody knows all of our business when we're a teenager. So you feel like you're that person everybody knows that stupid thing you did when you were 5, you know?
Yeah. Definitely. So this one is a fantastic book if you're especially in high school, if you're a boy, and you just can't get past the everyone knows me from this one thing, and how do I get past that? So this, now on a completely different topic.
Etiquette, Espionage.
Etiquette and Espionage by Gail Carriger, and this is a steampunk book. So steampunk is usually set in Victorian times, and it's science fiction-y, but it's gears and steam and dirigibles and things like that. And this is actually a spin-off of her adult series, and it's a teen series about a young girl called Sophronia who ends up being sent to a finishing school, which is in a floating dirigible hidden behind clouds.
Of course it is.
Wow.
As one does.
And what do they teach her at this finishing school?
They teach her how to finish things and people and anything that needs to be done. So it's really a school for espionage and assassination and
literally finish them off.
Yeah.
finish them off.
This is the school I would have liked. That would have been great.
And there's werewolves, and there's vampires, and there's mechanical sausage dogs. And it's just, it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's a really light, fun read. It's the first in a series. The second book in the series just came out called Curtsies. Oh my goodness, I forget what it's called.
It's like curtsies and
cutthroats. I don't know. Gail Carriger, read her. She's amazing. She's fun.
You love this.
I
can tell you love this one.
I do. It made me giggle. It really did. Unfortunately, the next one did not. But
the book thief.
My segue. This book, it's not new, but the movie just came out last week, and it is, I think, probably the best book I read in 10 years.
Wow, and that's saying a lot because you've read thousands of books over the past decade.
So this is, a lot of people go through that Holocaust book phase where they just feel they have to read this. This is a Holocaust book, but it's not really because the main character is a little German girl during the war, and it really follows her growing up in a small village during the Second World War that she's kind of tangentially seeing, and she kind of, it doesn't touch her directly, but then it kind of does, and there's like the Jew that's hidden in the basement, and it's narrated by Death.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah. It sounds like a lighthearted romp. I know that's what you were thinking.
Exactly, Rachel. That's exactly what I was thinking.
I started crying 70 pages from the end of this book. I read it to the end. I put it down. I cried for another half hour.
But it wasn't an
awful cry. It was one of those that was so sad and beautiful and hopeful and sad and wonderful, and that's the only reaction I could have to it. And it was, I can't even explain how much I love this book.
Despite the fact that it's a World War II book written from the German point of view and narrated by Death, it is in fact one of the most beautifully written books of the last 20 years, I would say.
And it's not depressing. It is
really
not
not.
depressing.
Well, you know, we had Rhonda Fink Whitman here, who's an author, and she's a proponent of getting Holocaust education, which we don't have mandated in the state of Pennsylvania. So one more reason, because our kids don't have a lot of World War II and unfortunately Holocaust education, maybe to you know, for teenagers to read it too.
It's a beautiful book. It's very satisfying in the way that a really warm meal on a really cold day, and then watching a movie that makes you cry. That
Yeah.
it's that kind of
It's
experience.
like soul food.
It is.
Wow.
So,
nice.
yes.
And you have the author.
I
Come
do.
on, you have to read
I
this.
bought this. I don't buy books.
Because you
That's what the library's
work at
for.
the library.
But I bought this because the author was at a conference and I got it signed to me, and
And
it
read
says,
it. Dear
it
Dena.
says, "Dear Dena, here's to life, death, love, and colors." Marcus Cusack.
Death, love, and colors. I love
I
it.
know. I just kind of want to sit here and hug this a little bit now. So
It's that kind of book.
I'm going to have a moment.
But this is a great gift as we come into the holiday season. I mean, this is something that you would say this is a great gift, not just to go to the library and read it, but
Oh, this is
maybe
something.
it's a classic
Yeah,
to you.
my mom read it this past year, and she called me. She goes, "Dena, I need to own this. I don't want to just read it. I need to own this. It needs to be in my collection." So it's definitely something that you want around, that you can just pull out whenever you want.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
And is it a true story? Is
No.
it? Okay.
No, it's fiction. It's fiction. I'm sure it's based on true things. I don't think the experiences in this are unique, but it's definitely fictional. And Death is an amazing character.
Wow.
So.
On that note, we're going to take a quick break, and from death to more life at the Philadelphia Free Library when the Dawn Show continues.